Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the Unstoppable Podcast Show, and I am Jennifer Hardy. Today I'm joined by the lovely Deni Van. How are you doing, Deni?
I'm doing fabulous, darling.
Excellent. So amazing to have you on today. So you have a business called Heartfelt Awakening, which just sounds beautiful straight away. But could you tell us a little bit more about what that business is actually for, what you do, and how it was born?
Yes, Heartfelt Awakening was born through the process of facilitating the awakening process in my clients. And many of us are going through energy shifts and may have symptoms of, let's just say, maybe mental illness, depression, uncertainty, maybe even fear of the future, and coming into alignment, heartfelt awakening, aligning body, breath, and spirit. And when we come into this alignment, all of this movement in our world can be seen, and we're staying in a place of stillness. It's kind of like, where you're completely still and there's chaos happening around you and you find your center. So this is how Heartfelt Awakening was born in this process of facilitating this awakening process that's happening.
Fantastic. And it's funny, I've actually just been speaking to a few people about this exact thing, this word awakening, and realizing that there's just so much more that the world can offer when you are in this place of stillness and mindfulness.
Yes, and we allow so much of our external world, our five sensory world, where we can see, touch, smell, taste, feel, and we bring that into our internal world, and this kind of muddies up that stillness, if you will, and can cause uncertainty and confusion and maybe even depression. So when we're able to, like you said, discover this inner stillness, all of this movement is clearly seen, and a lot of it, when we understand where we are and we see this movement, we realize some of the words my clients have used, this movement, and we're all caught up in it. We realize how irrelevant it is.
Oh my goodness, so true, so true. So speak to me a little bit about, just for the listeners out there today, what kind of situation is a client in when they seek you out or when they come and begin to work with you? Have they went through trauma? Do they feel held back? Is there blocks that they have to uncover? What is your client at before they kind of come and start to begin this process with you?
I think the client is at where I was back in 2001. I was an entrepreneur. I was at the top of my career. I was looking really, really good on the outside. I looked like I had it all together. But on the inside, I was hurting. I was dealing with past traumas. Actually, I wasn't dealing with past traumas. And all of these things started, and inside, I really didn't have it all together, and inside I was hurting. And in 2001, I was diagnosed with a very fast-spreading, deadly form of cancer, and pretty much told I had about 2 years to live. And it was in that moment, and a lot of my clients are discovering this, it was in that moment that I realized I had another choice. And when fear and death was in my face, the doctors telling me, if I didn't take this test where they inject radioactive dye into me, remove lymph nodes to determine if I'm going to get cancer and radiation, or just cancer treatments, chemo and or radiation, that fear of, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I have cancer, I must hand over, my autonomy to this doctor who knows what he's doing. It was a very interesting moment where I saw all of this fear coming at me, and I had to do these things in order to save my life. But there was this moment of this inner tiny, tiny little voice that said, this isn't for you. And it took everything to not look at the fear and to stay in that moment and listen. And I had to get really, really still in order to really hear that voice. So when my clients come to me, they're usually coming to me because there's some kind of trauma that's happened and they have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Many of them have had near-death experiences and are trying to make sense of it. Many are going through depression and they don't understand, you know, all of these changes and these feelings of uncertainty, especially with the world, what's happening in the world today. It seems like we're going insane. What is going on with the world? We are going insane. And I'm like, we can only talk about you right now. And I guide them to where they are right now to discover this other space inside. And I teach that, you know, physics and nature show us that there are two parts required to create a whole. And we can look at systems in nature to see this, such as in the example I love to use is like a hurricane. A hurricane is two parts. It has the eye, which is nothing. There's nothing there, right? And then it has the outside moving bands, and it is the eye where the bands get its energy from. We are systems. We are no different than nature, and there is a larger unseen part of us where we get our energy from for our physical body to do the things it does every single day. And when we recognize that there is this larger part to us and we're able to shift our perception to it, we're able to create such balance and such beauty and such inner calm and inner peace that this inner shift is life-changing.
It's so incredible. Just the way that you put it is beautiful. That this visualization for me of that tornado, and yeah, the middle of the eye just being completely still. It's a beautiful way of looking at it. And I must ask, just given how you began that this conversation there, about you had to listen to that voice saying to you, this isn't for you. What happened there in that moment? Did you decide to go through with the treatment that they had in place for you? What happened on that journey for you?
It's interesting because in 2001, that was a big change for the world, you know, the 2001 when the World Trade Center, in that year, there were a lot of shifts that were going on. And when that tiny little voice came through and I was being told on the outside, if I don't do these things, I'm going to die. Yeah. But on the inside, there was that tiny, tiny little crack that said, this isn't for you. And while my mom and the doctor and everybody was saying, all right, let's get ready for these treatments, you know, and at the same time, I was getting ready to take my two kids to Disney World. I think they were like 7 and 12 at the time. And so the doctor was getting ready to prepare me for all of this. And he's like, you know, we're going to do this and we're going to inject you with radioactive dye and blah, blah, blah. And all of these things are going to happen. But that's going to happen when I get back from vacation, when the doctor was going to get back from vacation. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's about 2 weeks after that, we plan to go to Disney World. And I said, will I be able to take my kids to Disney World 2 weeks after that? He goes, no, 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 cancel all your vacation. And I'm like, you cancel your vacation and tell my 7-year-old he's not going to Disney World. So there was like this inner fighter that wanted to come out, but I had to get really quiet. So I went home and I just got quiet. I prayed and then just got quiet to hear that little voice that came out and said, this isn't for you. And I decided to say no to traditional treatment. The only thing I did was remove the tumor. So I had the surgery to remove the tumor, which was on my right shoulder. I had malignant melanoma, and which is very deadly form of cancer. And so I just decided to just remove the tumor. And I was stage 4. And I said no to treatment. And the doctors pretty much said I'd be dead in 2 years. And so I thought, all right, well, let's see what happens in 2 years. What can I do in 2 years? You know, it's like, all right, well, let's make the best of these 2 years. And it's been 17 years.
Oh my goodness. Like, I'm totally speechless. It's not like me to be speechless, but wow. So I take it after the 2 years, then you went back for tests, or what were they doing? Were they obviously following up with tests after the tumor had been removed to see if
Absolutely.
actually everything was fine, or how? It's just it's mind blowing. It's
It
incredible.
is mind-blowing. And so what I did was I sought out a surgeon who was open to my decision to not go with traditional
Wow.
therapy. And I talked to a surgeon and I said, look, I just want to remove the tumor. I don't want to go through, I don't want have any ports put in. I don't want, any of that. I just want the tumor removed. And he said, absolutely, we can do that. And then he referred me to an oncologist
Yeah.
who was also supportive of not going through traditional, but she was very adamant about me doing something.
Yeah.
And so I sought out Dr. Mercola. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a big name doctor here in the alternative doctor.
Yes.
And so I sought him out, and he did so many tests, and I changed my diet. I changed my way of thinking.
Yeah.
I started incorporating EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique. And I had a lot of stuff I had to deal with that I wasn't dealing with. And as I started to move this energy within my body started to communicate to me what it needed. And I needed, test results had shown that I have an immune response to soy. I also have actually a neurological response to soy, an immune response to corn and wheat. And so once I started getting those out of my diet, you'd be amazed at what has wheat in it. You don't even think it should have wheat in it, but it has wheat in it.
Right.
So I had to really clean up my diet and only give my body what it could eat without an immune response, and to inflammation, creating this inflammation from the food I was eating. And so over the years, it was so hard to do,
Yeah.
because everything has soy, corn, and wheat in it.
Yeah.
But over the years of untraining my body and relearning how to listen to my body, creating this connection. And once I created the connection, the body knows what it has to do. It knows. I really didn't need to do anything. And also what I did was I set out on a quest to learn everything I could. And I took courses, I took trainings, I took CEUs, I took everything. I took thousands of hours of training as a body worker. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I have been teaching yoga and learning the tradition of yoga and learning how it applies, even though it's an old ancient tradition, how it still applies to us today and how important it is for us today.
Yeah.
And so during those years, I was not only educating myself and applying these to myself, but I taught others. And the joy of teaching others and allowing others to find this space within, and then healings that happen within them, this just lit my fire. And it's evolved into heartfelt awakening.
It's just so incredible, Deni. I'm totally blown away by your story, by your journey. It's just amazing. And now, obviously, you're using all of this incredible knowledge and wisdom to guide other women, to support them through processes which they're obviously finding hard. It's just amazing. Thank you for showing up the way that you are in the world. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and you mentioned, gaining this wisdom. And what I do is I guide people to their own wisdom, because this wisdom is something that comes from inside. And I'm learning that all of the knowledge that I gained over the years is just knowledge. You don't need this knowledge to discover this space with a shift in perception,
yeah.
and how powerful it is to discover this within yourself.
Wow, just so incredible. So Deni, if you could you tell me a little bit about the kind of work that you actually do with your clients. So when they're in your space and you begin to onboard them into the process, what kind of things do you begin to uncover? Is it lots of old blocks, lots of things from kind of childhood? Is that the beginning of the process, really?
The beginning of the process, when people come with me, I love quantifying things. I'm a closet researcher, if you will. So when they start coming to me, the onboarding is asking them survey questions in 4 areas of their life. How are they with their relationship with their mental health, their mind, their relationship with their body, their relationship and their connection to spirit, and all of those things: mind, body, spirit, and emotional body. And so there's questions on where they are right now. And then they're brought through a journey, because this has to be experienced. I can talk to them all day and say how wonderful it is and all of these things that are going to happen. That's not going to mean anything to them until they themselves experience it. And so they're brought on a journey to go inside and discover, oh my gosh, my relationship with my emotions. I feel like I am my emotions. When I say I am angry, my body becomes anger. And so they're brought through a journey to discover that emotions are energy and movement, and when anger comes up, it's not who you really are. You are experiencing anger. You are the witness of anger. But anger is here temporarily. It's not who you really are. And so we'll use tools such as EFT, emotional freedom technique, and we'll tap on certain areas and recognize, even though I'm experiencing this anger and I can feel the tightness in my body and I can feel my fist and my jaw clench up and I want to punch something, whatever that is, we'll talk to the anger as if it is a separate entity, and it is. It's not who you really are. So we talk to this emotion together while tapping on certain meridians in the body. So even though I'm experiencing this anger and you talk to it, you recognize it, you acknowledge it, because we're not suppressing this anymore. It's only going to come up someplace else, right? Yeah. So we're talking to it, acknowledging it. Then I choose. This is the important part. So we're looking at the movement of this emotion, because emotions are energy and movement. Then you're going to choose. I choose to stay in the expansive stillness of my being, and then sit with it. What begins to happen is, first of all, you're acknowledging this movement. We're not suppressing it anymore. A lot of people going through this spiritual journey are not looking at their past. I was the same. I was not looking at the past trauma that kept coming up in my experience until I looked at it. Yes, I experienced this trauma. Yes, I was afraid. Yes, I didn't know what to do because I was only 5 years old. Yes, acknowledge. Yes, acknowledge. And then remove your attention, because your awareness and your attention is your most precious gift. Your awareness and your attention is your most precious gift. So when you remove your attention from it and stay in the expansive stillness of your being, this is when the eye of the hurricane, if you will, the center of your system becomes stronger, more powerful, more expansive, and you become more aware of your awareness, and your awareness is your most precious gift. And so this is where healing happens.
Incredible. Fantastic. It sounds like such a beautiful, beautiful journey and program, if you like, to go through, and something that I think, even if there is no imminent adversity, I think everyone should take that journey.
Absolutely. And for me, I'm a little hard-headed and hard to learn lessons, so I could totally see, for me it was cancer. For somebody else, it might be depression. For somebody else, it might be something else. It really doesn't matter what that thing is. That thing is telling you something.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So begin to listen a little bit more, and then understand that there's ways of uncovering, of becoming aware, being mindful, and some release is always needed in some way, isn't it?
Absolutely. And understanding that whatever it is that you're going through, like I was going through cancer, that cancer is not me. Whatever you're going through is not who you really are. But we get caught up in the movement of it and think it is, believe it is, who cancer is who I am. And I start to pay attention and feed it, and it grows. If we can remove our attention or transcend it, that's what transcendence means. You remove your attention and then you're no longer feeding it.
Yes. Yes.
What you're feeding is the space that provides the healing.
Makes so much sense. It's just I'm really enjoying the way that you're explaining it. It's definitely I'm learning so much just listening to how you're putting it across. It's fantastic. So tell me, what is your big mission? What's your plan? What's happening going forward for you, Deni?
Well, right now I'm really excited to be presenting at the Science and Non-Duality Conference in San Jose this month. And this is going to be bringing this theory that we are two parts which create a whole, and we are not connected to the larger part of us. And then after this, my signature program we are working on right now, and it's going to be a 7-week journey, and applying this to ourselves, the natural laws of nature or physics, and then applying this to ourselves and using ancient science, if you will, such as the chakra system. And chakra, the word chakra just means wheel. So understanding these energy wheel systems within our body, and there's 7 main ones, but there's over 100 chakras or energy wheels within our bodies. So we go over these and we apply Maslow's modern science, if you will, Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the chakra system. And I'll just give you an example, such as the root chakra. It's our base chakra. It's at the tailbone. This chakra is really related to our basic needs. If we don't have our basic needs, such as clothing, water, food, housing, shelter, community. Community is part of the root chakra. If we don't have those basic needs met, all of the other energy centers or chakras are going to be lacking, because we build on that root chakra. And so when we come to an awareness of, oh my gosh, my basic needs are not being met, and we start to meet those needs, other things, the other chakras start to open up. And so we go through this journey of connecting to our own energy centers within our own body and combining that with our basic needs, like Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs, and discovering what is lacking within us, and then fill that need. Once we have that need filled, we become a very powerful, energy-centered, there's no stopping you. You become unstoppable when all of your energy centers are aligned and fulfilled.
I absolutely love that so much. And I love the fact that you used the word unstoppable as well. It's fantastic. And it's so true, though. It is absolutely true. Deni, can you tell us where we can find you on this beautiful online space? Do you have a website or a group or anything like that that we can join and get to know more about you and what you do?
I do, darling. Thank you for asking. Heartfeltawakening.com, and you can look for my social media handle pretty much everywhere on social media, Heartfelt Awakening. And we do have a group on Facebook, and right now we're doing a 10-day meditation challenge. A 10-day meditation challenge. Yeah. And really, the meditation is not the challenge. The challenge is committing to yourself to doing 10 minutes twice a day, and it's been going wonderful. Members are discovering that really it's their inner dialogue and their inner resistance that is preventing them from just doing the meditation and fighting with themselves and finding the space to let your yes mean yes. If you're saying yes to this challenge, you are saying yes all the way through the challenge to yourself and committing to yourself. And once you say yes and follow through on yes, this creates a domino effect in your life, because so many of us are saying yes to a lot of things. Oh, I'm going to say yes to that freebie, and I'm going to do this and say yes, and I'm going to do that and say yes. And so many of it ends up being a no, and it creates this inner pattern of not following through, things falling away at the wayside, and then creating a space of why didn't you do that? It creates this domino effect. So when we do the opposite and we're saying yes to this 10 days for 10 minutes twice a day and then following through, this creates such profound momentum in all areas of your life just by saying yes to 10 minutes twice a day.
Definitely, I hold my hands up and say it was only really then when I started to get into my meditation practice that I became so much more productive in every area of my life. It is life changing to have those 10 minutes of stillness, and sometimes I try and do it twice a day. But even if I get 10 minutes in, yeah, it's amazing what that can do for you, isn't it?
It is, and it's I consider it this, when you're doing this 10 minutes or however many minutes you're doing, you're creating this inner space. And I really want to call this inner space that you're creating a vital nutrient.
Yes, absolutely. It is. It's exactly what it is. Just the way that you actually put things into your body and food and hydration. This is exactly that.
And if you don't create this inner space, the outer world is going to fill it. And this, when we allow the outer world to fill this inner space, this is when we have a mind that won't shut up, panic and anxiety about our future or even our past. And all of these things are stirred up within us, and we don't have that inner peace, that inner knowing, that inner insights. We don't have it because our outer sensory world is filling that inner space.
Oh, I could listen to you all day. I really could. It's fantastic. You're just amazing, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been an honor and a privilege.
And have the most incredible time at your huge conference as well. What's it called again, just for anyone that's listening in that would like to maybe attend?
Absolutely. It's the Science and Non-Duality Conference.
Fantastic. And whereabouts is that?
In San Jose, California. This one's in San Jose, California. They do one in Italy too, once a year.
Excellent. Well, I must find out when the Italy one is, because I'll be there. But only if you're speaking at it again. Only if you're speaking there. Well, thank you so much. Your story has been so impactful for me, and I have learned so much from you, just even in the way that you speak about and put into words some of these movements, some of these things that I kind of already know a little bit about, but it's the way that you explain it and describe it that just completely changes your perspective of it. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening again to everyone that's been out there and listening. I hope you have taken as much as I have from this chat today. If you would like to find out more about Deni and her work in this world, then you can just scroll down and all of her details are below. And of course, if you want to find out more about myself and Unstoppable, just below Deni's details, you will find all of ours too. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for being part of this journey, this movement that we are creating with the most amazing women from all over the world, sharing their story, their wisdom, their knowledge. And I will speak to you all real soon. Bye.